Essay all about Saturn. Number 1. Introduction. Saturn, the most beautiful planet in the solar system. Among all the planets in the solar system, Saturn is often considered the most beautiful and elegant. Even people who know very little about astronomy can usually recognize Saturn immediately because of its spectacular ring system, which makes it look unlike any other planet. If Jupiter is the giant king of the planets, the Saturn is often seen as the jewel of the solar system. For thousands of years, Saturn has fascinated humanity. Ancient civilization could see it in the night sky without a telescope, and because it moves slowly across the star, it became associated with mystery, time, distance, and divine power. The Romans named in Saturn after the Roman god of agriculture, and time. In Greek mythology, Saturn was linked to Cronus, one of the Titans. But the Saturn is far more than just a pretty planet with rings. It is a massive and complex world with powerful winds, strange chemistries, and mysterious interior, an enormous system of moons, and one of the most fascinating planetary environment in the solar system. Saturn is the second largest planet after Jupiter and belongs to the category of gas giant. It is made mostly of hydrogen and helium, much like Jupiter, and it has no solar surface like Earth. Yes, despite its size, Saturn is supremely light for its volume. In fact, if you could somehow find a bathtub or ocean large enough, Saturn is theoretical floats in water because its average density is lower than water. What makes Saturn even more exciting is that it is surrounded by dozens of moons, including one of the most scientifically important moons in the solar system, Titan. Titan has a thick atmosphere like liquid methane, and chemistries so complex that it may offer clues about the early Earth and perhaps even the condition related to life. This essay will explore everything important about Saturn: its size, structure, atmosphere, rings, moons, specific mystery, and why it remains one of the most captivating planets ever studied. Number 2. What is Saturn? Saturn is the sixth planet from the Sun in the solar system. It comes after Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. It is one of the four giant outer planets, along with Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune. Saturn is classified as a gas giant, meaning it is composed mainly of gas and first layer, rather than a rocky solid crust like Earth or Mars. Basic facts about Saturn. It is the second largest planet in the solar system. It is famous for its ring system. It has a very large number of moons. It has extreme winds and storms. It is mostly of hydrogen and helium. Although Saturn is incredibly far from Earth, it has become one of the most loved and recognizable planets is all of astronomy because of its stunning appearance and scientific importance. The animal sign of Saturn is truly gigantic, although it's similar than Jupiter. Important side facts about Saturn: the diameter about 16,460 kilometers, radius about 58,232 kilometers, mass about 5.683 times 10 power 26 kilograms, volume enough to hold around 760 Earth, mass about 95 times the mass of Earth. Even though Saturn is huge, it is much less dense than Earth. Its size can be difficult to imagine because the human mind is not naturally built to grasp planetary scale. If Earth were the size of a grape, Saturn would be roughly the size of larger baseball. Saturn is so large that if you were observing it from close range in space, it would not feel like looking at the planet in the ordinary sense. It would feel like looking at an entire world system surrounded by rings, moons, and an immense atmosphere stretching into space. The origins and formation of Saturn. Like the other planets in the solar system, Saturn's form approximately 4.5 to 4.6 billion years ago during the early stage of the solar system birth. Scientists believe Saturn formed the giant rotating cloud of the gas and dust that surrounded the young sun. Over time, particles collided and combined to form larger and larger bodies. Saturn's life formed in the following way. A solid core of rock, metal, and ice began form. This core became larger enough to inhale amount of surrounding gas. Over time, it accumulated enormous quantity of hydrogen and helium and expanded into the giant gas planets we know today. Because stadium from far from the sun, temperature in the region were low enough for ice-rich material for survey. In this light helped Saturn grow into such a massive sword. Like Jupiter, Saturn may preserve important clues about the earliest history of planetary formation, making it a key target for scientists who want to understand how the solar system came to exist. Distance from Earth to Saturn. The distance between Earth and Saturn changes depending on where both planets are in their orbits, but it usually ranges between roughly 1.5 billion kilometers and more than 1.6 billion kilometers. Because Saturn is so far away, it takes a long time for spacecraft to reach it. Even signals sent by radio from Saturn to Earth take a significant amount of time to travel. This enormous distance adds to Saturn meteorite is not only beautiful, it is also remote and ancient giants living in the cold outer region of the solar system. Rotation and orbits of Saturn. Saturn has a very fast rotation, much like Jupiter. A day on Saturn. A single day on Saturn lasts only about 10.7 hours. That means Saturn spins very quickly on its axis. This rapid rotation caused the planets to become flattened at the pole, darker at the equator. In other words, Saturn is not a perfect sphere. Sphere is a slightly square because of how fast it spins. A year on Saturn takes about 29.5 Earth years to orbit the Sun once. This means 1 year on Saturn equals nearly 13 years on Earth. So If a person were born on Saturn and somehow survive there, they would not celebrate their first birthday until almost 30 Earth years has passed. The Saturns have a surface. This is one of the most common questions people ask. Can you stand on Saturn? The answer is no. Saturn does not have a solid surface like Earth, Mars, or the Moon. It is mostly gas and floats under extreme pressure. It's a separate spacecraft tried to descend into Saturn. Saturn does not land on a firm surface. Instead, it will sink deeper and deeper into atmosphere. As it falls downwards, the pressure would increase dramatically. The temperature would rise. Wind would become more violent. The spacecraft would eventually be crushed and destroyed. So while Saturn is often drawn like a simple round ball, in reality is a deep, turbulent layer with a gas and compressed matter, not place where human could work. The internal structure of Saturn. Although Saturn has no solid outer surface, scientists believe it had a layer in internal structure. Saturn is thought to contain, number one, an outer atmosphere. This is where the visible cloud band and storm are located. Number two, a deep layer of liquid hydrogen. As pressure increases, hydrogen is compressed into liquid form. Number three, a layer of metallic hydrogen. Deeper inside, hydrogens may become metallic and electrically conductive under enormous pressure. Number four, a central core, likely made of rock, metal, and ice. This interior structure is somewhat similar to Jupiter, but Saturn is less massive and less dense overall. The metallic hydrogen layer is especially important because it likely contributes to Saturn's magnetic field. Saturn magnetic field behave in some unusual way that scientists are still trying to fully understand. Nine, Saturn atmosphere. Saturn's atmosphere is a vast and dynamic system of gases. windstorm and chemical reaction, main component of Saturn's atmosphere. Hydrogen about 96%, helium about 3%, small amount of methane, ammonia, water, vapor, other trace gases. The atmosphere of Saturn is not as brightly contrast as Jupiter, but it still contains beautiful cloud band and subtle pattern. When seen through telescope or spacecraft image, Saturn often appears in short shape, a pale gold, cream, light brown, yellowish beige. The colors are produced by the chemistry of gases and cloud in its upper atmosphere combined with sunlight and temperature conditions. Cloud band and weather on Saturn. Like Jupiter, Saturn has cloud bands running around the planet. However, they are often less sharply visible than Jupiter because Saturn's upper atmosphere is covered by a kind of high hazy, which makes the detail appear softer. Even so, Saturn's weather is far from calm. Saturn experiences strong atmosphere, jet stream, giant storm, turbulent cloud system, lightning, and thunderstorm activity. Some of Saturn's winds are among the fastest in the solar system, reaching speeds of up to 1,800 kilometers per hour. That is far stronger than almost any wind found naturally on Earth. So Saturn may appear elegant and peaceful from afar. Its atmosphere is actually a burst of intense motion and violent energy. Giant storm and Saturn. Saturn is home to some of the largest storms in the solar system. One of the most remarkable known weather event on Saturn is something called the Great White Spot. This is a rare but massive storm system that appears periodically on the Saturn. The storm can grow so large that they wrap around much of the planet. Feature of Saturn's giant storm, enormous in scale, extremely powerful, can last for months, may involve powerful lightning and turbulence. The storm reminds scientists that the Saturn is not a passive or inactive planet. It is a highly dynamic atmosphere giant with weather pattern on the scale that draw anything on Earth. The famous ring of Saturn. If Saturn is now for one thing above all else, is its magnificent ring system. Saturn rings are the most famous planetary rings in the solar system, although other planets such as the Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune also have rings. Saturn's are by far the largest, brightest, and most visually stunning. What are stunning Saturn rings made of? The rings are made up mostly of ice particle, dust, rock fragments. The speed ranges inside from tiny grain to trunks and other mountain. Why the Saturn rings so bright? Because they contain a great deal of water ice, which reflects sunlight very effectively. When viewed through a telescope, the rings make Saturn look almost unreal, like a perfectly designed celestial ornaments floating in space. How big are Saturn rings? Saturn rings are enormous at width but surprisingly thin. Rings fact, they extend hundreds of thousands of kilometers outwards, but in many places they are only 10 to hundreds of meters thick. This is one of the strangest things about them. They are incredibly wise, yet often astonishingly thin. The rings are divided into major sections commonly known as A ring, B ring, C ring, and several small rings group. There are also gaps between them, the most famous being the Cassini division. This is rather dark gap between some of Saturn's main rings. The rings are not solid discs. Instead, they are made of countless individual particles orbiting Saturn independently. How did Saturn's rings form? This is one of the biggest mysteries in the planetary science. Scientists think Saturn's rings may have formed from a moon that's broken apart. comets or asteroids that were torn apart by Saturn's gravity. Leftover material from the early solar system. One important idea is related to something called the Ross limits. This is the distance at which Saturn the tidal force become so strong that they can tear apart an object that gets too close. So if a moon or icy body wanders to near Saturn in the distant past, it may have ripped apart, and the debris could have spread out to form the ring system. Scientists are still debating the exact age of the rings. Some evidence suggests they may be relative young compared with Saturn itself, while other evidence suggests they may be such other. Saturn magnetic field. Saturn has powerful magnetic field, although it is not as intense as Jupiter. Why is Saturn's magnetic field important? Because its trapped charged particle creates radiation zone interact with the solar wind, produce aurora near the pole. Like Earth and Jupiter, Saturn has aurora which are glowing light caused by charged particles interacting with the planet's magnetic field and atmosphere. The aurora can be beautiful and powerful. Thought of course they occur and on a scale and in condition far beyond anything human could directly experience there. Saturn magnetic field is also significantly interesting because it's unusual aligned with the planet's rotation axis, which has pushed research for years. Temperature on Saturn. Saturn is very cold planet because it lies so far from the sun. Average temperature in the Saturn upper atmosphere about -178 degrees Celsius. That is far cooler than even the coldest places on Earth. However, like Jupiter, Saturn also produces internal heat. This means it radiates more energy that is received from the sun. This internal heat helps power some of the planet's atmospheric activity and contribute to its weather system. So even though Saturn is cold from an Earth perspective, it is still a very active planet internally. Saturn's remarkable moon system. Saturn is not just a planet, it is also a center of an extraordinary family of moons. Saturn has many moons and astronomers continue to discover more and more over time. Some are small and irregular, while other are larger enough to be considered in their own right. Among Saturn's moons, the most famous and scientifically important are Titan in Enceladus, Rhea, Iapetus, Dionys, Tethys, Mimas. Each of these moons has its own unique story, but to them, Titan and Enceladus are especially important in the search for understanding habitability and possible life beyond Earth. Titan, one of the most extraordinary moons in the solar system. If Saturn was one moon that stands above the rest in scientific importance, it is undoubtedly Titan is Saturn's largest moon and one of the most fascinating places in the solar system. What makes Titan so special? It is larger than a planet Mercury. It has a thick atmosphere. It has lakes and rivers, but those lakes are made of liquid methane and ethane, not water. Titan is not only moon in solar system known as such a dense atmosphere, the stable liquid body on its surface. Its orange, hazy sky and alien chemistries make it one of the strangest most Earth-like gas undersea places we know. Many scientists believe Titan may help it understand early Earth chemistry, organic molecules, pre-aquatic environment conditions related to the origin of life. Enceladus. A small moon is the Titan Enceladus. Another incredibly important moon of Saturn is Enceladus. Its first glance, Enceladus seemed like a small icy moon, but it turned out to be one of the most astonishing discoveries in modern planetary science. Why is Enceladus so important? Because scientists discovered that it surged giant plumes of water vapor and ice particles from quakes near its south pole. These plumes suggest that beneath Enceladus' icy surface there may be a hidden subsurface ocean of liquid water that is extremely exciting because liquid water is one of the most important ingredients for life. Scientists have also found evidence that organic molecules, internal heat, possible hydrothermal activity. This means Enceladus is now considered one of the best places in the solar system to search for external life. Another interesting moon of Saturn. Saturn has many remarkable moons as well. Rhea, a large-sized moon with a heavily cratered surface. Diabetes, famous for its strange two-tone appearance, one of side very dark and the other bright. Mimas often compared to the Death Star because of giant impact crater. Dione, Tethys, and others. This moon also preserve important geological and impact history. Together, Saturn's moon makes the Saturn system one of the richest and most scientifically valuable planetary systems in the solar system. Could Saturn support life? If we're talking about Saturn itself, the answer is almost certainly no. Saturn is far too extreme to support life as we know it. No solid surface, crushing pressure, violent atmosphere, extreme temperature. However, the more exciting question is not whether Saturn could support life, but whether its moon could. And the answer is possibly the strongest candidates are Enceladus, Titan is the moon are among the most promising worlds in the solar system for study in the conditions that may allow life or slippery light chemistry to exist. So Saturn, like Jupiter, is not necessarily a world of life itself, but it's a great way to place it where life might be possible. How has humanity explored Saturn? Saturn has been observed for centuries, but modern scientific understanding it only became possible through telescope and spacecraft. Early telescopic observation in the early 17th century, Galileo Galilei observed Saturn through a telescope. However, because early telescopes were limited, he could not clearly identify its ring. Later, the Dutch astronomer Christian Huygens correctly recognized that the Saturn was surrounded by a ring system. This was one of the most astonishing astronomical discoveries in history. Space mission to Saturn has been visited by several important spacecraft, but one mission stands above all others. Cassini-Huygens is one of the greatest planetary missions avalanche. Cassini's achievements included detailed study of Saturn rings, close observation, its atmosphere, exploration of Titan, discovery of Enceladus water plume, major advance in our understanding of Saturn moon and magnetic environment. Huygens proved the hidden laser separated from the Cassini and descended through Titan's thick atmosphere. Eventual landing on its surface. This was an extraordinary moment in human exploration because it meant humanity around a moon orbiting land is more than 1 billion kilometers away. The Cassini-Huygens mission transformed Saturn from a beautiful distant object into a deeply understood planetary system full of scientific wonder. The future of Saturn exploration. Saturn and its moon remain extremely important targets for future exploration. Scientists are especially interested in Titan and Enceladus chemistries of possible prebiotic environments, the search for life by a signature. Future mission may one day return to Titan drone lander, sample Enceladus plume more directly, study Saturn rings in greater detail, explore the long-term evolution of gas giant system. The future mission could help to answer some of the biggest questions in science. How do planets and moon evolve? How come our habitable environment? Could life exist elsewhere in the solar system? Why Saturn matters? Saturn matters not only because it's beautiful, but because help is answer for scientific question. By studying Saturn, scientists learn more about giant planet formation, atmosphere, physics, ring system, moon evolution, the ingredient and environment related to life. Saturn also inspires something beyond science, wonder. It reminds humanity that the universe is not only full of law and equation, but also of astonishing beauty and complexity. Few objects in the night sky capture in the imagination the way Saturn does. Conclusion: Saturn is one of the most extraordinary planets in the solar system. With its breathtaking ring, giant atmosphere, extreme weather, fascinating moons, and deep scientific mystery, it stands as one of the great wonders of planetary astronomy. It is a planet of elegance in violence, beauty and mystery, distance and discovery. Although humans will never walk on Saturn itself, the study of Saturn opened the door to understanding how giant planets form, how planetary system involve, how strange and diverse worlds can be when weather life might exist place very different from Earth. The more we study Saturn, the more we realize that it's not just a planet with rings. It is the entire cosmic system filled with story, secrets, and possibility. Saturn teaches the universe is not only vast, but also astonishingly beautiful, endlessly complex, and full of the world still waiting to be understood.